Storms with hail and heavy rain on Thursday afternoon also led to fires caused by lightning strikes in the Tyrolean lowlands. In Wörgl, Kufstein district, lightning struck a single-family home, and the fire spread along the facade to the roof. In Kössen, Kitzbühel district, a hay barn caught fire in an open field. No one was injured. The total damage to agriculture caused by the storms across Austria amounted to €9 million. The lightning strike on the prefabricated house in Wörgl initially caused the lower part of the facade to catch fire. However, the fire quickly spread up the facade to the roof. After about an hour and a half, the fire department brought the fire under control and assisted in sealing the exterior wall and roof, police reported. The exact extent of the damage was initially unclear. The lightning strike on the barn in Kössen ignited parts of the roof structure, creating a 1 square meter hole in the roof. The fire was quickly extinguished by the fire department. 150 fire brigade operations in Tyrol, 80 in Lower Austria. According to the control center, there had been around 150 firefighting operations in Tyrol by the evening. Emergency services had to respond primarily to fallen trees and water damage. There was no widespread damage of a larger scale. According to Klaus Stiebel of the Lower Austrian State Command, fire departments in Lower Austria reported around 80 storm-related operations on Thursday. The districts of Horn, Zwettl, Gmund, Krems, and Weidhofen and Derthaya were severely affected. The focus of operations there was in and around Groß-Siegharts, where, according to the district command, there were fallen trees and flooded cellars. Part of the roof of a factory building was also blown off. 164 firefighters responded to the district. The Woodstock Brass Band Festival in Ort in Innkreis, Upper Austria, whose grounds were evacuated on Thursday, has since escaped relatively unscathed. The storm fronts only grazed the area, according to the organizers. The camping area has now been reopened, and travel to the festival can proceed as planned. Meanwhile, the Austrian hail insurance company estimated the total agricultural damage from Thursday's storms at €9 million. Tyrol and Styria were primarily affected, with some areas also affected in Lower Austria, it said. Massive hailstones with a diameter of up to 5 centimeters caused serious damage to agricultural crops. In addition to arable land and grassland, fruit and tree nurseries, Christmas tree plantations, and vegetable growing areas were also affected. In Nestelbach near Graz, Graz-Umspannung district, a tree fell onto the Styrian Eastern Railway line on Thursday evening. The driver of a regional train was unable to stop in time and collided with the trunk. The locomotive sustained minor damage, and the train left the track. According to the Nestelbach Volunteer Fire Department, none of the approximately 60 people on board the train were injured. However, emergency personnel had to literally cut their way through fallen trees on paths and roads with chainsaws. Lightning struck a single-family home in Wörgl. The strike set fire to the lower section of the facade of a prefabri. The Bruchhausel Volunteer Fire Department was alerted and was able to bring the fire under control around 4:45 p.m. after intensive efforts to combat embers. They then assisted in sealing the damaged exterior wall and roof. Tegel's employees inspected the gas system, but no action was required. No one was injured. The extent of the damage is not yet known. The Bruchhausel Volunteer Fire Department, with 20 firefighters, the Red Cross with 3 emergency responders, and 2 officers from the Wörgl police station were on scene. A fire broke out in a hay barn in an open field in Kössen. The cause was a lightning strike that struck the northwest corner of the building and set fire to parts of the roof structure. This created a hole in the roof approximately 1 square meter in size. The Kössen volunteer fire department quickly arrived on the scene and was able to quickly bring the fire under control and extinguish it with 3 vehicles and 25 firefighters. No people or animals were injured. The extent of the damage is currently unknown. An 81-year-old Austrian man was using an electric weed killer to clean the joints between garden paving stones in Reitz. At approximately 11:29 a.m., the resulting sparks ignited dry thuja clippings that had accumulated under the hedges. As a result, the thuja hedge, approximately 2 meters long, caught fire explosively. The man attempted to extinguish the fire with a garden hose until the Reitz volunteer fire department arrived. The fire department was able to quickly bring the fire under control and extinguish it. No one was injured. The extent of the damage is currently unknown. The Reitz volunteer fire department was on duty with 3 vehicles and 20 emergency personnel, the Telfs Rescue Service and a police patrol from the Sils police station with 2 officers. Severe thunderstorms have once again swept across Berlin and Brandenburg. Several people were seriously injured, however, the report of a fatality in Potsdam turned out to be false. One day after the severe storms in Berlin and Brandenburg, the extent of the damage is not yet clear. In Berlin, severe damage occurred, particularly in the Tegel and Spandau forests. Thousands of trees are said to have fallen there. The Tegel Forest has been closed. A spokeswoman for the Environmental Administration said a detailed overview will probably not be available until next week. There was also major damage in Brandenburg, especially in Havelland, on the Upper Havel and around Potsdam. Even the day after the storm, many places continue to advise against entering parks or forests. Broken twigs and branches can still fall from trees. Many parks have been closed. Several people were injured by falling trees. According to the Potsdam City Administration, a woman suffered life-threatening injuries in the Neuer Garten on Thursday. According to previous reports, she was cycling with a man. When the storm began, the crown of an oak tree broke off, burying them both. The man suffered serious injuries but is not in critical condition. According to the city administration on Friday afternoon, the woman's life is still in critical condition. A report from Friday afternoon that the woman had died turned out to be false. The city of Potsdam has corrected its information, the DPA news agency reported. The misinformation was based on a transmission error, a city spokesperson explained. In Potsdam, a 34-year-old cyclist was also injured. She was struck by a gust of wind shortly after 6 p.m. and fell over. She was taken to a hospital. In Anno near Berlin, 2 people were slightly injured. They were sitting in a car on which a tree fell. In Berlin, the fire department reported 2 seriously injured people in Heiligensee who had to be taken to the hospital. A pedestrian was hit by a falling tree and fell into a ditch. A tree fell on a car in which a person was sitting. Another seriously injured person was reportedly injured at Gendarmenmarkt, according to the fire department. The storm also caused severe damage at the Sachsenhausen Memorial. As the memorial announced on Friday, the tar paper on the roof of the former prisoner laundry was completely torn off. As a result of the heavy rain, large amounts of water penetrated the listed historic building, which is used as an event hall and for workshop exhibitions, it added. In addition, several trees were downed. The memorial says the extent of the damage cannot yet be quantified. However, we assume it will amount to at least 100,000 euros, said Foundation spokesperson Horst Seffrens. In total, there have been nearly 2,000 incidents in Berlin and Brandenburg since Thursday afternoon. According to regional control centers in Brandenburg, fire departments have responded to more than 1,000 calls. Around 780 incidents have been reported from Berlin. It's not yet clear how long the cleanup will take. Berlin Fire Department spokesman Vinzenz Cash told RBB on Friday morning. Thousands of emergency calls came into the control center on Thursday afternoon. We were really at our absolute limit and a little beyond it. Many colleagues didn't sleep last night. On Friday, the S-Bahn and regional rail services were still particularly affected by the storm's effects. Sections of the city's S-Bahn network in northern Berlin were closed. The storm-related closures for long-distance services had largely been lifted by Friday afternoon. On Thursday evening, the S-Bahn temporarily suspended all service across the entire network around Berlin for the second time this week due to severe weather and storms. According to the railway, the reason was branches and trees falling onto the tracks. The Berlin Transport Company, BVG, also partially disrupted service on some tram and bus lines, as well as the above-ground subway lines. Late Thursday afternoon, official severe weather warnings were initially issued for the western Brandenburg districts and Berlin, including via the Nina and Catwarn warning apps. The severe weather front then moved into northeastern Brandenburg and further into Poland. Around 8:30 p.m., the last localized severe thunderstorms moved away from the southern Brandenburg districts around Cottbus. Northwest Berlin, northern Spandau, Heiligensee, Tegel, and Wedding were particularly affected. Boats capsized in some waterways and people had to be rescued. Firefighters also responded to numerous incidents in western, northern, and eastern Brandenburg. Emergency numbers were temporarily overwhelmed. On Monday, the low-pressure system Zyros led to hundreds of firefighting operations in the region. One woman was killed and several people were seriously injured. In Potsdam, too, a trail of devastation was left in the parks. Numerous branches snapped and fell onto the sidewalks. On Friday, the weather will be calmer and cooler again. For the weekend, Berliners and Brandenburgers can expect consistently warm, and in many areas even hot, weather, says a meteorologist from the ARD Weather Competence Center. It is expected to remain dry for several days and, especially in southern Brandenburg, very hot, with temperatures well over 30 degrees Celsius in some places.